Well, to our first story this week, union rights. The council in Swindon is to stop paying full-time union reps. It will save the taxpayers around £30,000 a year, but that's out of a budget of almost £500 million. The Conservative authority is the first to take the axe to paid union reps, and other councils may follow. Here's Paul Baltrop.
Swindon's a council where they like to think they're ahead of the game. With a solid Conservative majority, they kept their tax down and began cutting even before the coalition existed. Now their clampdown on union representatives could set a national precedent. On Thursday night, the unions mobilised, protesting as councillors assembled to determine the fate of this man.
We've got people from Devon and Cornwall and Dorset who've come all the way to support us, and we really do appreciate that.
Bob Cretchley is facing the chop, along with his job share colleague Karla Bradford. In the council's Unison office, they work solely on union matters. It's a legal right for workplace representatives to spend time on union duties. But Conservative councillors reckon this arrangement is costing too much. They're braced for a fight.
Well, I mean, if you're going to effectively challenge the unions in any way, you can usually expect a fairly robust response. So, yes, it probably won't be very easy, but it's about the principle. Is the principle right that the cost saving is important? Is the principle right that the taxpayers shouldn't be subsidising union activity when the union should be able to subsidise their own activity from the subscriptions they collect?
There's support from the Tory right. North Somerset MP Liam Fox has decided to speak out. He'd like a return to the union tackling approach of his political hero, Margaret Thatcher.
In the public sector, where the money is coming entirely from the public purse, in this case in Swindon from the council taxpayers, I think that the councillors have a duty to ensure that all the money that they are raising goes for public services. I think the idea that in hard-pressed times that council taxpayers should be paying the salaries of unions officials is outrageous.
Some of his former colleagues in government agree. If there's a fight, the unions are ready. What started this week in Swindon could go a very long way.
Well, Joanne Kay is the Regional Secretary for Unison in the South West. Is this a money-saving device, or is this about attacking the unions, in your view?
It's about attacking the unions. If it was about money, then the council could have looked at the £300,000 that goes to 38 Conservative councillors every year just in their basic allowances, or the £20,000 that goes to the leader of the council. £29,000 to give the people who do the work a voice is a very small amount.
They are
and
having to
actually,
make
it's the
huge
council's
cuts,
legal
though, aren't
obligation.
They are having to make big cuts. Why should the taxpayer fund union activities?
It's not activities, it's duties, and it's a legal obligation in the same way that councils have to fund, or all employers have to fund, time off for antenatal care or maternity pay. Time off for trade union duties, which is what these staff work on, is a legal obligation, and most employers have found it helps them to have centrally funded posts, which mean they're not taking people away from frontline services.
You're right, it is a legal obligation. That was actually brought in by the Conservatives, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It's a,
so you can't really claim it's an attack.
Well, it's a Conservative council who are attacking the council's ability to deliver those legal obligations under a piece of legislation from 1992. And the reality is that that work will still have to be done, and somebody else will have to be doing it. So it probably won't save any money, but it will mean two people.
Let's bring in Chris Skidmore and our other guests. Do you agree with Liam Fox that perhaps the unions need their wings clipping?
I think a lot of your viewers today will be watching that and be very angry, hard-working council taxpayers who want their council tax spent on frontline services and not subsidising the unions. I mean, the unions are pretty wealthy. I mean, they give Labour MPs like Anne £12,000 in donations at the time when she was an MP.
Oh,
They've got money.
I don't think that's correct, actually.
Well,
you know,
I can bring it out if
they
you'd
didn't
like.
give it to me personally. They may have given it to my party, but you need to be very careful about telling me it's personal. They didn't pay any money to me personally.
Well, to your local Labour party in Swindon
not to
South.
me, is it? So would you apologise?
Well, I'm not going to apologise to the fact that the unions are paying
getting your facts right.
South Swindon.
You need to get your facts right.
Have a look, Anne.
Do you know what? Swindon Borough Council, when they were talking about these cuts, £29,000, on the same day this plopped through my letterbox. It's the Swindon News. It's a glossy, full-colour magazine, 28 pages, and it's just an election puff.
The unions have paid the South Swindon Labour Party £12,000. Have a look, Anne, see what you think.
Do you also think that Swindon Borough Council should have paid £400,000 to a local businessman on a failed Wi-Fi.
At a time when we need to make savings, we need to look after council taxpayers.
Let's get back to the issue.
400 quid.
It's a
400
huge
quid on
smoke
food
screen.
when you're an MP. Do you want to apologise now to Swindon taxpayers?
Liam Fox
apologise now, straight from the cameras.
Liam Fox had to repay £20,000 on his mortgage.
I don't know what you were spending 400 quid on food for. I don't know what you're eating, Anne.
Guys,
I don't know what you're eating.
Let's just get back to the issue.
I didn't take any allowances in my last year. How much have you paid this year?
on food.
Nonsense.
Is that right or not?
Nonsense.
All right, let's just get back to the issue.
And you know, this is the politics of the gutter, because what they're doing is union bashing, spending thousands of taxpayers' money on things like this.
His point is that there is a perception that perhaps that Labour is in the pockets of the unions.
Well, I don't think that's true, and I think you can hear that that's not true from the union's point of view.
Let's just have a look at. I mean, some people might accuse you of double standards. I mean, you don't seem to be too worried about the other public service workers, those who operate in banks, who have bonuses which make this little bit of money look like absolute peanuts.
No, I think the banks need to take responsibility as well. I mean, across the board, we need to look at how we can save money and also how we can make money.
Why haven't you clipped their wings?
Well, we've begun to. I mean, certainly with their bonuses. You've also got to remember
the banker's bonus tax, which would have actually put young people in your constituency into real jobs for the first time. You stopped the banker's bonus tax, which would have paid for that, and you've got 366% increase in your constituency in youth unemployment in the year 2011 to 2012. That is absolutely appalling, and I think it's a shame you're apologists for that.
Let's just go back to Joanne. Joanne, let's just come back to you. Your union members will still get the same service, won't they, from other reps operating within the council?
Well, that will still cost the council the same amount of money. People are still entitled to time off, and these arrangements have been put in place not by us, but by employers. And what people are doing are interfering in the arrangements between the employers and their employee representatives, because they've found that it works. Because if you have a union rep who's a frontline social worker and you're taking them away from their duties to carry out those legal obligations, that's really disruptive. So local managers and HR people know that these arrangements work best.
So, and you support her?
I support the rights of unions at workplaces in Honda and in Swindon Borough Council as well. They have paid union reps. I think
probably not on this scale. I think the public sector get union reps on a bigger scale than they do in the private sector.
Not in Swindon. There's 2 part-time posts which are £29,000 a year. Now, I do think that the council needs to look very carefully at where it's putting its money, and if it had been proportionate with the way that they're making cuts elsewhere, I think that might have been something that was acceptable. However, there are 100 people whose jobs are being cut, and there will be a false economy in sacking union officials.
42% in 3 years when Labour were running the council in Swindon.
And we have
frozen it for 2 years.
That was 12 years ago.
That is no.
That was 12 years ago. We're talking ancient history here, Chris, and I think what we're talking. Yes, I do, and so does the Labour group in Swindon.
Okay.
That's public.
Joanne, we're going to have to say goodbye to you. Leave them to have a fight. But thank you very much indeed for coming in. We have to move on.